Good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight for KREM 2 News 10 at 10, where we give you more news in less time. I'm Cody Proctor. Well, new information tonight about tense moments in Grant County after an Army helicopter struck power lines and started a wildfire. This happened south of Vantage. KREM 2's Kyle Simchuk breaks down what we know at this hour tonight.
Well, this is as close as we can get to that Apache helicopter. The military is here right now trying to figure out what needs to be repaired and how to get it back home to the Yakima Training Center where it left from this morning. The Grant County Sheriff's Office says the military pilot and co-pilot were in the middle of a training exercise when they clipped some high-tension power lines which stretch across the Columbia River. They were forced to make an emergency landing. You can see part of the power line still attached to the helicopter. Up State Route 243, the other down line sparked a 5-acre wildfire. It was soon put out, but the highway had to be shut down. It has since reopened tonight.
So after the pilot and co-pilot secured their aircraft, they got a ride on a Black Hawk helicopter, which landed here. They got on the helicopter, flew back to the Yakima Training Center, where I understand they went through a routine medical examination, which they would undergo after any incident.
Now, Grant County deputies expect to be here overnight and possibly the next 24 hours as the military figures out how to get this Apache helicopter back home. Reporting in Grant County tonight, Kyle Simchuk, KREM 2 News.
Kyle, thank you so much. And other top stories tonight, an update on a story we first brought to you last night. Spokane police say they figured out who the person behind the social media threat against several Spokane schools is. Early this morning, police determined the threat was not credible. However, several schools did see an increase in police presence today. In an email to parents this afternoon, Spokane Public Schools wrote in part, quote, "A local youth sent the September 28th social media threat and will face consequences for their actions." This is a developing story. We'll continue to update you as we learn more. Let's go right now to Night Beat for a quick look at the day's top stories. The city of Spokane is joining a multi-state effort to overturn 2 court rulings that limit how several western states can respond to homelessness. Those rulings say cities can't punish unhoused people for sleeping or camping in public spaces if there aren't enough shelter beds. More than a dozen states and counties are asking the U.S. Supreme Court to review the decisions from the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. Mayor Nadine Woodward says these laws mean they have to divert people to overnight shelters and keeps the city from funding and implementing longer-term solutions. This morning, an Airway Heights man admitted to killing his 8-year-old adopted daughter last year by changing his plea to guilty. Alexander Kermoyarov and his partner are accused of abusing the girl, leading to her death. Investigators say the couple then drove her body across the country in a U-Haul. The plea agreement requires his full cooperation and testimony in the case against his partner. It also amends his charges and it takes life in prison off the table. And a Spokane artist known for his murals and portraits was shot in New Mexico yesterday. 39-year-old Jacob Johns was shot after a fight broke out during a protest over a statue of a controversial historical figure of a Spanish conquistador. In the moments leading up to the shooting, you can see the alleged shooter, identified as 23-year-old Ryan Martinez, right there in a teal jacket and a red "Make America Great Again" hat, fighting with Johns. The cell phone video takes place seconds before police say the suspect drew a handgun and pulled the trigger, shooting Johns in the chest. State police later arrested the alleged shooter. Johns was airlifted to a nearby hospital. And that was your Night Beat. To learn more about any of these stories, just head to our website, krem.com. In the meantime, in other news tonight, a federal appeals court ruled late last night that Idaho's abortion ban can now go into full effect. The court overturned a pause on a part of the abortion ban. The U.S. Justice Department says Idaho law violated the Emergency Medical Treatment and Labor Act. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals sided with the state of Idaho and the legislature on the abortion ban. Previously, the Department of Justice was suing the state over the lack of exemptions in the ban. But with this ruling, the abortion ban is in effect. The current exemptions are for rape, incest, or to protect the life of the mother. Well, time's running out for hopes of avoiding a government shutdown that begins on Sunday if lawmakers don't manage to reach some kind of agreement on more funding. CBS's Nicole Skanga has more details for us tonight.
With lawmakers unable to break an impasse, the federal government appears to be careening towards shutting down over the weekend. The House rejected a stopgap spending measure backed by Speaker Kevin McCarthy that could have bought more bargaining time.
The bill is not passed.
The so-called continuing resolution would have kept the government open for a month at reduced spending levels, but far-right members of McCarthy's own party voted against it despite his recent concessions to them.
Keep working and make sure we solve this problem.
The government is set to shut down after midnight Saturday when federal funding expires. In Virginia, mother of two, Alice Silver is the wife of a Coast Guard petty officer, among more than 1 million military members facing the prospect of working without pay.
Times are hard as it is, and a paycheck being missed is a big problem. We're normal people who really need paid, and it's not fair.
Millions of federal employees would be forced to go on furlough or continue working without getting paid until the funding lapse ends. Border Patrol agents and air traffic controllers are among workers facing the prospect of losing their paychecks. The shutdown also puts at risk the federal WIC program, providing grocery assistance to 7 million women and children. Nicole Skanga, CBS News, Washington.
Nicole, thank you so much. In the meantime, hundreds of thousands of federal workers will be furloughed during a shutdown, and others will be required to work with no pay. That includes active duty military members. Today, Washington Senator Patty Murray said work needs to be done to prevent that from happening.
They will get back pay. That's a little comfort to someone who's living paycheck to paycheck, which is exactly why I have worked so hard to get this bipartisan bill to the Senate floor and passed so we can prevent a government shutdown.
National parks and museums will also be closed in the event of a shutdown, and millions of TSA workers will be expected to work without pay. Experts are warning of longer lines at airports as people are expected to call out of work. In other national headlines, nearly 30 years since his death, police arrested a suspect in the murder of rapper Tupac Shakur. The Associated Press reports that Las Vegas police arrested Dwayne Davis this morning. He's the uncle of the suspected gunman and has long been linked to the investigation. Davis denied firing the gun, but prosecutors say he called the shots, and that's enough to warrant a murder charge in Nevada. He'll be arraigned next week. Tupac was only 25 years old. Well, in the meantime, we're also keeping track of flooding in New York City thanks to historic rainfall. The floods made travel treacherous there, with countless drivers stuck when water overtook busy highways. Soaked commuters also navigated waterlogged trains and stations. Almost every New York City subway line has been suspended or delayed. You can see some of that footage right there, just how incredibly seeing all of this flooding going through a major city. There have also been cancellations and delays on major commuter lines and on Amtrak. Like I said, incredible to see that amount of rain happening in the Northeast. In the meantime, let's go right now to meteorologist Michelle Boss with your forecast tonight. And Michelle, we've had our fair share of recent rain, but hopefully not to that degree.
Yes, unfortunately, I had predicted that we would stay dry for Friday night football, and the rain came really close earlier this afternoon to Spokane, but Spokane stayed dry. Coeur d'Alene got a couple of drops, and as we take a look at satellite and radar right now, most of that weather is in far southeastern Washington and the central and southern Idaho panhandles. Kind of zooming into the Spokane area, you can just see how close some of those rain showers got, but though we were pretty cloudy all day today, no precipitation in the rain gauge at the Spokane airport. Temperatures were cold all day long. We're at 51 right now in Spokane, 51 in Coeur d'Alene in the upper 40s in Deer Park, Sandpoint, and across the Washington and Idaho Blues. But it shouldn't be quite as cold here as it was this morning, as we saw some clearing last night, and that allowed us to cool off more. We'll stay thick with clouds overnight and tomorrow morning. It won't be as cold tomorrow morning, but it is not going to be warm during the afternoon. We are going to see cloudy skies tomorrow, slight chance of showers mainly across North Idaho. The high barely making 60 degrees. Sunnier skies on the way for Sunday, 64.
Thanks so much, Michelle. And that was your KREM 2 News 10 at 10, where you get more news in less time.